The cost of university degrees, how they're paid back and who gets a foot in the door could be set for an overhaul. The final Australian University Accord report has been released and it includes a plan to ensure that by 2050 at least 80% of our workforce will have higher education qualifications, be that through university or vocational training and TAFE. The National Tertiary Education Union is looking over the recommendations. Their National President, Dr Alison Barnes, joins us now. Dr Barnes, thank you. What is your reaction at this point to this?
Oh, look, we're cautiously optimistic. I think the Accord final report has much to commend it, but we're still going through the kind of fine print and detail and looking for those unintended consequences and things that don't work so well for staff and students.
Now, casualisation of the workforce in universities, it's been a well-documented issue. What in this report could address that?
Look, the report alludes to and makes mention of the devastating impact that casualisation has. 2/3 of our public universities, people who work in our public universities, are employed insecurely. This has devastating consequences for the individual, but also consequences for universities and students. So the report talks about insecure work, but we're really hoping through things like the Tertiary Education Commission, how the Futures Fund might be operated, that deals squarely with the problems that insecure work creates.
Tell us more about the Tertiary Education Commission. What would that bring?
Look, the Tertiary Education Commission is one of the recommendations we fully support. Governance has been a big problem for many years across Australian universities, and we're hoping through things like the tertiary education we can get governance right in our universities, so we put an end to things like wage theft, we make sure there are staff and students' voices that are heard, and we ensure that our universities are governed in the interests of staff and students and the good of the nation.
Now, looking at those Morrison-era changes around fees for courses, so charging more for humanities, arts degrees, charging less for nursing, it didn't actually change the take-up significantly. Do you want to see that scrapped?
Yes, we're very happy that the jobs graduate legislation will be scrapped. It had terrible implications for the sector and it didn't work as it was intended. So we're really grateful and pleased that that will go. We're hoping it will go. And we really want to ensure that our universities are funded adequately. Australia funds its universities far less than many of countries internationally. We really need to ensure that our universities are funded so that they can achieve their core purposes: world quality research and teaching.
And as to teaching models, are there some that can better address disadvantage?
Look, teaching should always look at, I suppose, the students and what works best for the students. But if you are to do that, if the students are to be supported in terms of their well-being, pastoral care or their academic work, we need to ensure that's properly funded. Teaching and research across our universities is under enormous pressure, and if we are to meet the needs of students, we need to invest in teaching, we need to invest in research to ensure that students receive the support they deserve.
Speaking of research, what are the suggested changes around that?
Look, some of the changes around research are pretty exciting. For example, there's a recommendation that research will be fully funded. Now, this is really important. When, for example, people are awarded grants, the grants don't cover the full cost of that research. So they don't cover, for example, the cost of labs or labs equipment, and universities put up that money. This gives advantages to universities who have, lots of money. And I think by ensuring that the full cost of research is covered, it really builds equity across the sector so that our regional universities are, supported and so this is a really good endeavour.
And Dr Barnes, as welcome as some of these changes could be, is this all a long way off?
This is all a long way off, and I think it's really important that the government act soon on some of those recommendations like the Tertiary Education Commission, but it's also really important that they think about the funding and the choices they make around funding to ensure some of these recommendations happen.